Hello and welcome to the WNBA show from Focus Hoops. My name is Darren Paul and I am joined by Manchester basketball royalty, Lancashire basketball royalty in the form of Kaz Bullock. Kaz, how are you doing this evening?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. Trying not to melt here. It's very warm.
It is very warm, and hence why we have the one, the only, the main man, Mbegi, Greg Mpofu. I'm sorry if I've said your name wrong there, good sir. Rocking it in style and profile. Thinks he's Ric Flair over there. How are you to this evening, sir?
Woo! I'm same as Kaz, man. When the warm weather's out, you got to represent the warm weather. So, yeah, I'm just happy to be on the show again. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been too long. You've been ducking us ever since. Well, we'll get to why you're ducking us. By the way, I figured why not Jersey Day. Greg's exact words were, "I don't own jerseys like that." I don't know what that means, but I respect it. Kaz, you've gone for talk us through this situation.
This is a classic Vince Carter, 2000 dunk contest champion, Raptors legend. Toronto.
So yeah, I mean, I just wish he did get traded to Toronto. That's it. I said it, Toronto. I said, Tisha, if you're watching this, you know he shouldn't have been there. He should have been in Golden State. For those who are interested, it is Racing Club de Avellaneda, the finest basketball team on the face of the earth, third division in Argentina, repping. They're enjoyable to watch. Right. Okay. Serious business is afoot. We have WNBA action to talk about on this Thursday evening. Of course, you are watching the FocusHoops WNBA show, and the rookies are feeling the hurt this week in the WNBA. But first off, let's just talk through a couple of the results. Looking at Thursday's scores on Thursday from last week, just scooching up. A big game, a couple of big games for me that stood out on Thursday night. Seattle 93-92 winners over Atlanta. Real squeaky finish for them there. Connecticut 91-68 over Dallas. Connecticut's first win of the season. And there goes us talking about Connecticut like when they're going to win their next game. You know, it's a real tough run of games. And then Connecticut just go and put a body on Dallas immediately. And Chicago 86. Greg's Phoenix Mercury 96. So a couple of key games from Thursday. Let's just dive into a little bit of chat about Seattle Atlanta, if we can. What do we have to say about Seattle's 93-92 win over Atlanta? Kaz, I assume you would like to begin, as you always like to begin, on all matters Atlanta. Go on. The floor is yours.
This was amazing, this game. This was, I wasn't actually watching it live. I was following the stats. I was supposed to be in bed because I was supposed to be working early the next day, and I thought I'll catch up on the game tomorrow. And I'm watching it. So Atlanta are getting absolutely battered in the first quarter. You think, it's going to be a bit over. Carter was having a bit of a quiet game. I think she had 11 points in the first half. And then all of a sudden, it just turned. So Brianna Stewart in the first half, I think she had 12 points in 9 minutes. And then Kennedy Carter just takes over. And this game, it just becomes something else. Atlanta scored 12 points in the last 40 seconds of this game. And they lost by 1. So they were down. So in the last 40 seconds, we had Benaja Laney with this ridiculously off-balance 3 where she didn't even look like she was squared up to the basket, just flung it and then had a bit of a Jordan shrug afterwards. Brought them within 4. Brought them within 4. And then at the final buzzer, 3 seconds left. Carter throws it up, gets a three. Jordan Canada looks like she's about to foul her and manages to back off, because we know that if you foul Carter, she's going to make the free throws. She's shooting 88% from free throw line. And this was just such a fun, fast, exciting game that everybody thought was over in the first quarter. And Atlanta just came back. Courtney Williams, she had 13 points, 10 rebounds. And Atlanta shot 20 for 20 from the free throw line. And as we see, when Atlanta are getting to the line, when they're getting the free throws and they're getting those fouls calls, the games are closer, and they've got they've lost 6 now, 5 or 6 games. And the games where they're getting to the free throw line, they're closer. They're obviously not winning, but they're closer. The thing that counteracted that, though, was Jordan Canada scored 4 straight free throws down the clutch, down the stretch, and kept it together for Seattle. But this was just wild. 35 points from Carter. It was just amazing.
So Kennedy Carter leading the way for Atlanta. It's funny to me how Seattle, and we're going to talk about Seattle in a bit more depth later, they are just crushing everybody in their path, pretty much. They're unbeaten in the month of August. But we're not talking about them. We're talking about Atlanta. And in other games where Seattle are a prominent part, we'll probably be talking about opposition as well. Courtney Williams, Greg, what have you made of her impact with Atlanta?
Well, the situation for Atlanta right now is that they need all the know-how they can get. Coming off the back of last season, which was a hell of a struggle for them, they need somebody with a level-headed approach to the game, a sort of veteran presence. But I think we're kind of burying the lead here when we talk about that, because the story of this game was it was 2 players making a statement. You've got the comeback former MVP in Breanna Stewart. Seattle needed every last bit of her production to get through this game. And as Kat said, she was hot early and then cooled off a little bit, but was still pretty consistent, as is her way. She was 50% from the field, 50% from 3, 82% shooting free throws. And this is her kind of in a game where even just a slight slip up would have meant a loss for Seattle. She made a pretty clear MVP statement, as she has generally throughout the season. But this is a game where she said, okay, you know what? Follow me. I'm going to take us to the win, no matter what. Obviously, with the help of a Jordan Canada as well, who was playing with Sue Bird missing. That was a key for them to have Jordan Canada available and playing the way she did without the experience of Sue Bird. But goodness, what can you say about Kennedy Carter? I think that was your Rookie of the Year pick, Kaz.
It was, yeah.
35.7 assists. But what let her down and what really let Atlanta down overall was the turnovers. She did have a hatful of turnovers herself. And, those are extra possessions that if you give a veteran team, a stacked team like Seattle, they're going to punish you. Stewart overall was slightly anonymous in this game, but she did find those little cheap points here and there that generally came via Atlanta mistakes. So that's something that they're going to have to tidy up going forward. And, if you look at the shooting numbers, Atlanta came to play and they were, this is a game that they really needed to win as a confidence boost and to sort of, establish themselves as a team on the way up, as opposed to a team holding pattern at the bottom of the league at the minute. 45.6% from the field overall, 37% from 3, 100% from free throws, as Kaz mentioned. All of this is better than anything Seattle did, guys. Although Seattle, I think they had a little bit of an easier job throughout the night overall, because 21 of their field goals were assisted, whereas Atlanta had to do it the hard way, only 12 assists over the course of the night. So I think experience won overall, but this was a get out of jail free card for Seattle.
Just to reiterate your point, Breanna Stewart finished the night with 27 points, 8 rebounds. Kennedy Carter, 35 points. That is up there with the... Is she the youngest ever player to have that many points? Am I right in... There we go, Kaz. You are the Kennedy Carter watch. She also tacked on 7 assists, which is hugely, hugely impressive. We move to Greg's Phoenix. Chicago beating Phoenix. Losing to Phoenix 86-96. Apologies, Greg. Apologies there.
We don't need any help losing games right now.
We'll get into that in a bit more detail in the second half. But yes, Courtney Vandersloot, 21, 8 assists. Cheyenne Parker, 7 rebounds for Chicago. Phoenix, now Brittany Griner and Diana Taurasi, both with huge games, 22 points apiece, 8 rebounds for Griner, Taurasi, 6 assists. Greg, do you want to tell us a little bit about Phoenix in this particular game?
So Phoenix, for me, this season have been a real Jekyll and Hyde act, and this was the good side of that. Offensively, they were just clicking all day long. Incredible shooting numbers throughout. I think we had over half 3-point field goal percentage. Diana Taurasi was Diana Taurasi, as she usually is, even at this stage of her career. And Brittany Griner looked good health-wise. She was getting up and down the floor. She was running the floor. She looked strong. But the story for me, of course, you had all the big three playing 30-plus minutes. But you had Walker Kimbrough coming off the bench to contribute 17 points off 6 of 10 shooting, 2 of 3 from the three-point line. So, in as much as the big three did the heavy lifting, they had a little bit of support from the bench, even without Hartley in the lineup for this game. So I think it was a game that they could have easily given up on another night. Courtney Vandersloot came to play, 21 points, 8 assists. But same as before, her good play was kind of tarnished by the turnovers, which this Phoenix team, even amidst their struggles, they'll punish you for giving the ball up. The Chicago didn't really shoot the ball well from the three-point line. They weren't awful, but not particularly well. I think at 38% or so. But the real tale of the tape here is that both teams kind of had a hard time looking after the ball, but neither one was able to punish the other particularly badly for those turnovers. So it came down to the brilliance of the big three for Phoenix. Even with, like I say, the spark plug of Hartley missing, they were able to get that bonus production from the bench as well.
Kaz, any major takeaways from this game?
So my sort of worry with Chicago and from the start of the season has always just been their physicality and their height. So they were playing this game without Steph Dawson, who was back last night. But they're a small team, and they just they did actually out-rebound Phoenix in this game, which is quite surprising considering who Phoenix have got. But I just think that the Chicago look to struggle down in the post, and that they haven't got anyone, that's going to match up against the Brittany Griner, Asia Wilson. They're a great shooting team, but the physicality and the size of them, I wonder if that's going to trip them up a bit later on in the season. Was this the game where James Wade was thrown out for arguing the foul calls? Where he said he sent 46 clips to the league to complain about some fouls from the game. I think it was this one.
Yeah.
Well, I think it might have been because I think Chicago had 28 fouls in this game to Phoenix's 19, so it's quite possible. But at the same time, as you said, their lack of size led to Brittany Griner getting a lot of deep position against them, and once she's down there's not a lot you can do with a butt fouler.
You mentioned, Kaz, about their rebounding. Do Griner's rebound numbers not quite, for me, they don't quite stack up to what I expect them to be. I expect them to be averaging more rebounds per game than what she produces. What do you guys think about
that? I'm the same, really, and I just for her height, she's the tallest player in the league, isn't she? She's 6'8". Why is she not averaging, I don't know, at least 10 rebounds a game? Sometimes when I've been watching, I don't know, she doesn't always seem like she's going for it. I know she said at the start of the season she wanted to be MVP, she was going for it, but she just doesn't look as kind of as engaged. Maybe she sometimes looks a little bit passive, which isn't usually what you'd associate with Brittany Griner. But I don't know. She doesn't seem to have that kind of that fire to go after them and be chasing them. And she was getting out rebounded a few games ago by, I can't remember who it was, but it was a much smaller player. Might have even been Courtney Williams, who shouldn't be, 5'8" against 6'8", shouldn't be out rebounding you. I don't know if Greg has more of an insight into how she works on Phoenix there.
Greg?
Yeah, it's overall defensively, it's a bit concerning what's going on in Phoenix, and it does start and end with Brittany Griner, really. I mean, even historically, the type of player she is, she's quickness, she's touch, she's footwork. She's not really a banger per se, but she always had that motor to go after rebounds and block shots and stuff. But right now, it's not there, and I think it goes back to the knock she got early on in the first game, and that's kind of got her to a point where I think she's protecting herself a little bit in that way. And when I look overall at what Phoenix are doing defensively, the usual thing of let's filter everything to Griner isn't working for that reason. And it's hard to break an old habit where you're used to having that rim protector and that active defensive body back there, but she's not being that right now, and it's really hurting them defensively in most games, to be fair. And it's not to be critical of the coaching of Sandy Brondello, because she certainly knows what she's doing. But I'd hope that she could have recognized that this is what was happening and maybe made an adjustment to sort of protect Griner in a way, to sort of keep her out of those situations where she's having to deal with drive after drive down her way, having to bang with bodies down there. I've seen a couple of teams employing the zone here and there. I've not really seen that from Phoenix. Maybe it's just not part of their DNA. But overall, she does not look quite right. And, when you also have Diana Taurasi missing time here and there because of injury, Bria Hartley missed this game in particular as well. It's just a difficult situation for Phoenix to navigate through. But when they have the best of Brittany Griner, they look like one of the top 3 teams in the league. It's just that they don't have that right now.
Yeah, just on Brittany Griner, she is 10th in total rebounding numbers per game at 7.7. The other stat that stands out to me, her efficiency, 18.3, so pretty high. And I mean, she's top 10 in rebounding, but like you said, Kaz, as somebody whose ambition is to win MVP, and I think we could all agree that she's got the tools to be in that conversation. We want more. I certainly want more. I think Greg wants more. As do all Phoenix Mercury fans.
If you watch Brittany Griner when she's playing in the EuroLeague for Ekaterinburg, the type of player she is there, it's unrecognizable to what she's doing right now in this wobble situation. But I think there has to be something to be said for her health, because, as Kat said, she does look passive. She does look like she's sort of protecting a knock or something. And we did see that she got yanked early after taking a bit of a hit in the first game. Is it a psychological thing? It could well be. And it could be physical. She could be feeling something. But she's not got that motor that we know her for. So maybe a change of scheme could help her out in that way. She's very definitely on the defensive end, avoiding banging bodies where she doesn't have to. So, so that's just not the Brittany Griner we're used to seeing.
So moving on to Friday's results. Indiana, 80-87 loss against Minnesota Lynx. The New York Liberty. Sans Sabrina Ionescu. Remember, she's out for a month with the ankle injury. She got Jalen Rose against, I want to say, Indiana. 74-66 victory over Washington. And Kaz's Los Angeles Sparks, 82-86 loss to the Las Vegas Headband Bandits, or Aces, as they're more commonly known. So, again, a couple of big games Friday night. Let's dive into it with this New York victory over the Washington Mystics. Firstly, New York won a game. We were fearing, I dare say, when are New York going to get that first W? and it came against Washington. Hands up if you're expecting this. Exactly, nobody. Nobody was expecting it. Kaz, what are your takeaways from this game? Okay, we'll go to Greg to kick off with.
Yeah, I was just standing there. I think the game that New York were going to win was always going to be a game like this, where it was very disjointed. You know, a lot of bad basketball happening as well at the same time. The shooting numbers for both teams were pretty poor. 39.3 from the field for New York, 37.7 for Washington. You know, it was an off day, definitely for Washington, but it was a day for New York to show some grit about themselves, some signs of growth. And one thing that you're not quite expecting to see from a New York team, Amanda Jawi B, she was stroking from the 3-point line. Like she went off. You know, when that's happening, there's not a lot you can really do about everything else in New York. You know, her 14 points and 14 rebounds. It's not just that she got those numbers, it's how she got them. Now you're stretched out in Washington. You're having to really play way out of your comfort.
I was not expecting this. I didn't.
No.
I wasn't expecting this.
No, absolutely. No, it's a very unique situation to be in when you're looking at Ajawi B all the way up there, and she looked confident doing it. It wasn't a case of, oh, I'm just going to chuck it up and see what happens. Like, I think by the time she made her second one, she just kind of walked into it and said, "You're holding this one," and it went swish. I was watching the game thinking, "Oh my God, is this what's happening today?" And of course, for me, the key player for New York was actually Leisha Clarendon. She kept them ticking over. She gave them a tempo that they needed to play at, even though they were shooting poorly. That pace was incredibly high. The pace was very high in this game, and that was down to Leisha Clarendon. She was pushing the pace. She was a dog on defense. And, you know, for a young team like that to have that veteran in your backcourt really setting the tone, pushing the pace, that was exactly what they needed on this day. You know, it was a tough day at the office for Washington. There's no getting away from that. You know, in all aspects, you know, the turnover battle, they lost that. Both teams didn't really look after the ball particularly well, but I think the situation of having Leisha Clarendon pushing the ball down your throat all the time, it just got a little bit overwhelming for Washington in the game. And at one point, it looked like they kind of looked around to each other. They were like, yeah, this one's gone. This one's gone.
I tell you, every time that I see Amanda Zawi B's had a good game, and I think this week she's been a real standout performer, for me at least. I always think, oh, Greg is going to be delighted. Greg is going to be so happy. He's going to be so joyous. Phoenix may have lost, but Amanda Zawi B, on an individual, personal level, has won. Also, again, you said it. I've been really impressed with Leisha Clarendon's game all season long. I thought she was one of the standout performers in week one, in game one, and I've really liked what I've seen from her so far. Kaz, are you with us? Kaz? The joys of internet in Manchester.
While you're checking in on Kaz and we're trying to get that reconnection in, something I was thinking about watching this game, and it's a little bit of a hot take, but it's something that I think it will be clear when you start to think about what it is I'm about to say.
Maybe sorry.
Can
you hear me?
Great. Maybe not having Sabrina Ionescu available has kind of changed the way that New York are approaching their games. It felt like early on she was being force-fed the ball a little bit. You know, for obvious reasons, that's the number one overall pick. She's a projected superstar in the league. You know, so maybe a little bit of that was getting them out of character. But right now, you don't have that one focal point. So they're kind of playing a little bit more of a more flowing type of game of basketball with each other. So it's not to say that they're better without her, but they're just playing differently now, and it's kind of you're seeing the results of that.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point to make. That different doesn't necessarily mean better. But sometimes we see this. We saw it in New York, Patrick Ewing. Sometimes teams do manage to cope and things can click a bit better when their star or appointed star is out. Are New York down the line going to be?
I'm really hoping it's not the Kyrie Irving syndrome, because she doesn't strike me as that kind of quirky character. But
no, I don't, and there's no suggestion of that
going forward. Yeah, just hoping going forward that they use this time when she's out. She's looking at video, she's looking at everything that's available to her, and figuring out where can she fit in while still being the lead dog in the pack, and make everything tick in that way.
Kaz, you with us? One last time, Kaz.
I think we got a big delay here.
I think we do. So all the internet's stopping it. Oh, hello. Right, Kaz, tell us quickly about Los Angeles and their loss to the Las Vegas Aces.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay.
Technical troubles on a Thursday night. We do apologize for this.
Everyone's at home taking up all the bandwidth.
I know.
Okay,
storms.
So Vegas 86. We good?
You're all good.
Okay, Vegas 86, LA 82. This was a really good, really close game. But like we said at the start of the season, if LA haven't got their big three, their Candace Parker, Necker, Chelsea Gray, and adding into that Simone Augustus, if any of those are out, they're going to struggle. And in this game, Necker was out with a hamstring, and Simone Augustus was out as well. I think she was just resting. They did get a lot of firepower off the bench. Rakona Williams had... Rakona Williams this game wasn't up to her usual point scoring. She only had 3 points. But they've got Sydney Weiss, who in the last 3 games has been shooting the lights out. She was 6 of 9 shooting, 18 points. And they need that help off the bench. But like we say, when any of the kind of big 3, big 4 that they've got around, it's going to be a bit difficult for them to match up a team, especially a team as talented as Vegas. Asia Wilson had 26. Angel McCoughtry had 24. 30 points between them. They just look really dominant and really in sync together.
She has been such an impressive player all season, Angel McCoughtry. And again, missing last season, Bill Lambert, who was very keen to get the ball in her hand, get her shooting. And that's exactly what she's done. And again, we'll touch on a little bit later. She's doing it on both ends. Asia Wilson, this should be her year. I don't know, man. I think this could really be her year in terms of, the MVP conversation. It's her team. It might just be her time. Just very quickly, the Saturday scores are scrolling along at the bottom of the screen now. Atlanta 75, Dallas 85, Phoenix 68, Seattle 74. Another win for Seattle, another defeat for Greg's Phoenix Mercury. And Chicago with a healthy 193 win over Connecticut. Greg, I'm not too sure if you heard this bit from Ishmael Fontaine last week, but he was saying, I need to see Chicago blowing teams out. I need to see them destroying teams if we're going to talk about them as a serious contender. Is a 193 victory over Connecticut, is that getting it done for you, if you are Ishmael Fontaine?
It's high scoring for certain, definitely not a blowout, but traditionally what you see from Chicago is that they struggle to stop teams from scoring. They don't struggle to score. So that's where you're going to probably see the lack of blowouts being an issue. They've certainly got the firepower. When you're led by a Courtney Vandersloot, your offense is going to be chugging along quite nicely. Trust me on that one. Ali Quigley, she's efficient when she's feeling good about herself. I think she had a 22-point game, if I'm not mistaken, in this one. But Without Steph Dawson, they're a very different team. They're a small team anyway. So when you're missing Steph Dawson, you're missing other dimension to what you're able to do defensively. You're missing a dimension to what you're able to do offensively. Help what they call a two-man game with her Vandersloot. That's kind of like the nuclear option for Chicago, and where teams are able to exploit Chicago is in the pick and roll situation on the other end of the floor defensively. They're not quite able to contain the threat as well as they could with a big body like Steph Dawson in the way. And I don't know. I don't think this is a situation where you want to be seeing blowouts. I think you want to see Chicago getting stops. You want to see Chicago slowing teams down and not allowing teams to run down their throat all game long. Don't get it wrong. Again, I think this is a game against any other team. The way that Connecticut played, they'd win. They'd have won this game against any other team in the WNBA on that night. I'm even including Seattle in that because they came out absolutely firing in this one. When you look at it for what it is, look at the numbers. I think everything about this game screamed a win for Connecticut. 55.6 from the field, 50% from three-point line. They had 22 assists on their field goals. So they were in good shape. Just didn't have quite enough against a team that loves to score, but probably doesn't play enough defense in Chicago.
Not enough defense in Chicago. We skip quickly over to Phoenix 68, Seattle Storm 74. Another big night for Griner, 20 points, 8 rebounds. Again, I want to see double doubles. Okay, but I've been spoilt in recent years on London Lions and Brandon Peele, the double machine. So but that's what I want. That's what I want in life. Diana Taurasi adding 5 assists. Seattle led by 20 points from Jewel Lloyd, 10 rebounds Natasha Howard, and 10 assists from Jordan Canada. Kaz, was it you at the start of the season that told us to keep a proper beady eye on Jordan Canada? I think it may have been. Again, Kaz's internet playing a little bit of some mind games with us all there. Greg, any big quick takeaways from this 68-74 Seattle game?
I think you're right to point out Jordan Canada as being a key part of what's going on in Seattle right now because they're able to play without Sue Bird. And, to be able to say that about a player of her caliber, that they're not actually missing a beat, that's a big thing for them. You're always going to have a scoring threat on the floor when you've got Stewie available. It was very obvious last season how much they missed her when she was dealing with her EuroLeague injury. Although she didn't have a great game in this one. She didn't. I think she was 4 for 12. Very lean shooting night, although she kind of made up for it from what she was able to do from the three-point line, 3 for 7. Free throws, she was able to sort of keep her scoring up that way, and 8 rebounds. The thing about when Breanna Stewart rebounds defensively is that's a goal sign. She doesn't need to find an outlet. She rebounds, she pushes, and that's a bonus for any team. For myself as a coach, I think I'm always looking for situations where we can rebound and run, rebound and push into pace. So I think I'm very excited when I see that kind of thing happening with Breanna Stewart kind of leading the way on the fast break, and she was able to sort of make her money on the defensive end in this one. Nothing particularly spectacular about her, but she was everywhere. She was talking. She was quick. Just you expect maybe once in a while to have a down game after missing a whole year plus of basketball, but she's come back in good shape, and she got by on her know-how in this game, and Jewel Lloyd stepped up where she was sorely needed. A little bit pedestrian from Clark in this one. I don't think she can get away with too many more of those. I don't think Alyssa Clark can get away with too many more of those because she's going to be needed in certain spots where certain teams that are kind of built to deal with the Breanna Stewart threat, like a Las Vegas. they're going to need Clark to step up and be able to contribute in a big way in those situations, because the backcourt is going to be under pressure. Stewart's going to be under pressure. They need that extra scoring touch from the wing that she's going to have to be able to provide. So she's kind of been floating a little bit underneath the radar, doing what she needs to do. But I think there's going to be games where she really needs to step to the fore.
Do you worry for her then, Greg, that she's going to see her minutes getting reduced, or maybe they're going to look to bring somebody else in or make some kind of change if, in your words, she's not getting it done?
Well, she's got decent size at the wing position, but if that's not really providing them with anything particularly special, I can see them going into a smaller lineup where they do keep Jordan Canada in the game with Sue Bird when she's available and going that way, and Jewel Lloyd. So going with that sort of 3-guard set, it may well be a very strong option for Seattle going forward, unless they start to get that production from Clark. Like I said, she's not a plus defender. She's not a negative per se, but she's not a plus defender either. So, you do need her keeping the scoreboard ticking over. You do need her contributing in a big way on the offensive end. Otherwise, it's kind of like you reach a point of diminishing returns with her.
So we're going to move on. That's like, there we go. We get away from Greg's face with my voice because that's just a bit weird. We're going to move on to one of the stranger games of the week that was. Las Vegas Aces 78, New York Liberty 76. Very, very close game, but that was overshadowed. Asia Wilson's 31 overshadowed. Jackie Young with 15, 7, and 3 overshadowed. And yes, she was the highest assist maker for the Aces with 3 assists, which is kind of terrible. I don't know. I don't know about you, Greg. I don't know about you, Kaz. I hate seeing teams that don't have people who get loads of assists. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I like seeing the ball getting shared. Anyway, it overshadowed Amanda Zawi B with her 20 points, 4 assists, and Kia Stokes' 12 rebounds. And it's the story of the officials. The referees and the scoring table really stuffing up in this game. So New York had Las Vegas properly on the ropes. They led for large parts. It was a real close back and forth. And with a handful of seconds left in the game, Asia Wilson, because of course she did, scored to put Las Vegas ahead 78-76. Ball goes down the other end, and multiple times they had to go to the replay booth to see who had possession. Did it go out of bounds? Blah, blah. 0.5 seconds left on the clock. The inbound from Laisha Clarendon into the hands of, I forget which player it was. I think it may have been Kia Stokes. Scored the basket. Say again? Who was it?
Sorry, it was Odom.
My apologies. Odom. So basket gets scored. New York go mad because they think they've tied it. It gets waved off. They had started the clock on the inbound rather than when the ball was caught. They replay it. Laisha Clarendon inbounds it. Angel McCourtry bounces it off the backboard, and the game's over. Win for Las Vegas. New York go away feeling that they really lost out. Is there anything, first off, before we get into the controversy, anything about this game that we want to talk about in 60 seconds or less? Feel free to dive in.
Away showing from Amanda Zawi B. On this night, no other player made more 3-point field goals. Her 6 threes were the most on this night. And, like I said, when that's happening, you need to be aware of what's going on. She's a confidence player, very much a confidence player. You see her when she plays for Sweden in the national team situation. When she's feeling good about herself, she really steps up and she wants the ball in her hands. You can tell the difference from when she's a little bit more passive, which is, sometimes she kind of has to be depending on who's on the floor with her. But, this is another situation where Clarendon was well aware of how Zawi B was feeling, and she kept getting the ball to her, and the results showed. So, I think this was another potential banana skin avoided by Las Vegas. But I look at Las Vegas, and sometimes I sit there thinking, this is a scary team. How good are they going to be when they've got everybody available? Because let's not forget, They've got Liz Cambridge to come back at some point in the future. They've got Kelsey Plum to come back at some point in the future. Fully loaded, what are they going to be?
They're a super team, Greg. They're a super team. Kaz, let's talk about the situation on the inbound and the sidelines and the officials. Like, I know you went back and watched it the next day because we were talking about just the slightly farcical nature of the finish. But what did you make of it?
I think it's really unfortunate when something, I don't know if that's the right word, when something like that happens, because obviously, you know, the officials have got to do their job. You know, for me, watching, you think to start the clock when someone throws the ball and catches it doesn't sound like it's too difficult, but I'm not in that position, and I imagine it's a lot harder than it probably sounds like it is to do, to get that timing exactly right. The unfortunate thing is, had the clock started at the right time, it looks like New York would have got the basket, would have gone to overtime. Obviously, when you replay something like that, you can't replay the exact same possession, because then Vegas know exactly what you're going to do, and you can't have that back again. So New York obviously feel like they've been a bit cheated out of it. The last like 5 minutes of this game lasted about 20 minutes when I was watching it back, because they seem to be stopping for like clock issues, lots of technical issues. I don't know whether that's just the nature of being in the bubble, but it's, you know, we're 9 games in now. They need to be kind of on top of that. We don't want to be seeing things like this happening, and especially when the games are getting a bigger audience. They're on ESPN, they're on Twitter. You know, they don't want that to be the impression that people are getting if they're new to the league. I don't know how they get around it, but it's like that.
No, I agree completely. I think that's a really important point. It's, you know, the league is on the biggest platform maybe it's ever been, and it needs to be getting things right. And that's everybody. That's the players, that's the team owners, and of course officials and scoring. Is it the most simple? Probably not, but we need a little bit better.
Well, another thing you want to be aware of when these situations happen, and it's, you know, maybe not something you think about at the moment is going on, it's kind of like a free timeout for both teams, offensively and defensively, because while the officials are, you know, trying to figure out what's going on with the equipment and the staff, you know, there's nothing stopping the coaches from getting their whiteboard out and drawing something up, or giving instructions and setting their team up in a particular kind of way to deal with the situation. So, you know, in a situation where the ball's just gone through the hoop and you're playing off the cuff, it's hard to get yourself organized. But then now you're dealing with the dead ball situation all of a sudden. And, you know, we've seen cases in the past where, you know, clock issues have led to a lot of controversy, not least of all Munich 72. But we had a situation right here in our own WBBL last season with Nottingham Wildcats up in Caledonia, where a clock issue gave them a kind of free play where they came down and hit a game-winning 3, and that caused a little bit of consternation to the home team, Caledonia Pride, who lost out as a result. So, you know, it's kind of just something you have to deal with. Nobody does this deliberately, but it's just
no, of course not. Of course not. Another fixture that's. Oh, Kaz, was that you diving in?
So, do we know? I was trying to find this out and I couldn't see anything. Do we know if they do a final 2 minute report like they do in the NBA?
I don't think they do. I've not. I will. I'll do some digging. We'll send Kaz or Greg off on a tirade, and I will do some digging during that time. Another fixture that stood out to me. Another game that stood out to me. We're not allowed to say match or fixture. Connecticut 93-82 win over Atlanta. And do you know what really stood out to me, guys? Shakina Strickland, 18 points. Courtney Williams, 7 rebounds. And I'm thinking, boy, that Connecticut team would have been really something if they'd have just run it back. That was my big takeaway from this. It was like, oh, imagine what the Sun could be if they hadn't have traded away or been able to retain key individuals. But, you know, rearview mirror and all that. Alyssa Thomas, 21 points. DeWanna Bonner, 9 rebounds. Jasmine Thomas, 7 assists. Those are the key numbers for me. And this game stands out to me a little bit because of the diverging nature, the diverging fortunes of these two teams. Connecticut, they're on a real starting to get things together. as we thought they would from the word go, but it just didn't happen. Now they're getting the wins in Atlanta. I think they're regressing towards the mean, and they're really starting to fall off. And again, that's not going to be helped with Kennedy Carter's injury. Kaz, any very quick thoughts about this game?
So I think if Kennedy Carter doesn't get injured, this game goes a different way. I think Atlanta would have won this if Kennedy Carter had been playing. Obviously, she got injured 3 minutes in, which is the worst thing that's ever happened ever. And that's really upsetting for me and Atlanta. But Shakona Strickland, 18 points, all threes in the first half. She'd scored like 12 of the first 14 Atlanta points. Kalani Brown and Courtney Williams stepping up there. They were looking pretty good, but they just didn't have enough to keep up with Connecticut. Something that I know we've kept mentioning the starters and the amount of minutes they're getting played and they're getting running to the ground. So in this game, Dewana Bonner played 24 minutes and Alyssa Thomas played 23. And their bench of the games that night were playing the second most out of all the teams that played. And I don't know, to me, that seems like you're playing your bench, you're resting your starters, and you win a game. So maybe the tide's turning. It hasn't taken that; those minutes haven't taken them still from most starting minutes in the league and lowest bench minutes in the league overall. But I just thought it was an interesting point on that night when they win and they're using the bench.
Okay, Greg, have you got any broad strokes comments on this game before we move on?
Yeah, it's like Kaz mentioned Kennedy Carter getting injured earlier, and that did something a little bit strange to Atlanta in this game. The shot distribution was a little bit weird. You're looking for like a Shakina Strickland when she's feeling good as she was to get a few more than 10 shots in a game like that. So, they didn't really have anybody on the floor that was going to sort of make that decision as to where the ball goes according to where the hot hand is. And in that way of looking at things. You need more from Monique Billings. I'm sorry. 1 for 6 is just poor at this level. Lainey, 1 for 5. It's not good at all. So really the key for Atlanta was the bench, as you mentioned. But that being said, you want to get the ball into the right hands at the right time. And I don't think that was really happening for Atlanta in this game.
Another fixture that stood out to me from Tuesday night, it was Las Vegas 98-79 win over Indiana, and it was the Angel McCourtry show, even though Asia Wilson, of course she did, she finished with a double-double. I think she had 12 points, 11 rebounds, but even when she's not putting major points, the aces, they find a way to get it done. Like Greg's saying, what they're going to be like when they've got all their pieces together. I'll tell you what they're going to be like. They're going to be the WNBA champions. Down the road, if they can keep this core together, with these other players coming back, oh boy, they are going to be something else. Candice Dupree at the end of the game, 20 points. She seemed really just ticked off that the game hadn't gone in their way, the way of the Fever. And again, the Fever, they are a little bit of a bubble team. I don't think they are in conversations that we've had over the last few weeks. I think we've all been fairly confident on them making the playoffs quite comfortably, but I mean, I don't know. They've played one of the best teams in the division, or in the league, rather. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I don't know. It stood out to me a little bit. I wonder how things are going to go for Indiana the rest of the way. Any comments on that?
Like I was trying to say,
I think Indiana have got some players that people really just overlook or are quite underrated.
Go. That's my bell.
Yeah, I was just saying, I think Indiana have got some players that are quite overlooked or quite underrated. Candice Dupree, 20 points, 6 rebounds. That's like an average game for her.
Mm-hmm.
I saw an interview with her earlier. Someone was asking her what keeps you motivated, and she said being overlooked. People don't talk about her in MVP races as one of the greatest players that's played in the WNBA, but she is. And they've got Tiffany Mitchell, scoring 14 points. Kelsey Mitchell as well. They've just got players that people are just kind of not talking about. And yeah, they've lost this game, but I think they will still make the playoffs. And they're just kind of one of those almost, I don't know, San Antonio Spurs-ish teams that kind of maybe people aren't talking about because they're not flashy, but they get the job done, and they're kind of just working towards getting to the playoffs, and they're very consistent.
Greg?
I think that's a good point that Kaz makes, but at the same time, I need to see some Indiana players puffing their chests out and stepping up. I don't think you can have Julia Lamont playing 35 minutes and only taking 5 shots. She's got the ball in her hands a lot, but she's really kind of deferring them in a big way. So she's a player that really needs to start sticking her chest out a little bit, step into the fore, announcing herself in the league as a player that needs to be reckoned with. Candace Dupuis was good, lost record in this league. She shot 50% from the field. Obviously she's going to be a little bit annoyed when the slack isn't picked up by her teammates. And, at the minute, they're not really getting a lot of anything from the bench. Natalie Achonwa, you're taking only 3 shots. Again, I need you to step forward, put yourself out there. If you look at Las Vegas, their bench, I think they got 47 points from their bench. Those girls are stepping onto the court and saying, okay, go time. They're not waiting for someone else to do it. When they get their opportunities, they're letting that fly. And, Bill Lambier, having been in this league for a long time, he's won numerous championships. He knows what it's all about. He knows that depth is the key. So he's not going to really put the shackles on anybody and say that, look, when we need Asia Wilson to be doing this, we need Angie McCaffrey to be doing that. He says to everybody, when you get your chance, you better take it. Because if you ask me for permission to score, I'm going to say no because you thought about it too much. So it's better for you to apologize afterwards than to ask me for permission. And that's how Las Vegas are playing. And I think that's how Indiana needs to start looking at the game as well.
All right, let's dive into last night's standout fixture. It's the Phoenix Mercury 71-89 to the Chicago Sky. Steph Dawson's back. Everybody rejoice. Everybody, and I mean you, Greg, as well. I want to see rejoicing in your faces because Steph Dawson's back. And she finished with player of the game, I believe. 8 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists in about 8.5 minutes of play. Really, really good to have. I think one of the bigger personalities in the game back. 4, 2, 3. So Skylar Diggins-Smith and Sophie Cunningham, they both had 15 points for Phoenix. Griner, 6 rebounds. Again, like we've said about 20 times so far, not quite the output we expect from her. 4 assists for Diggins-Smith. They didn't have Diana Taurasi. Diana Taurasi is out. She doesn't have a timetable to return. We're going to touch on that a little bit more in a moment. And Griner finished with a -18. And we were talking about, stats and plus minus the other day. Turns out plus minus, it's kind of a big deal. And for Britt Griner to end -18, that has alarm bells ringing for sure. Ali Quigley, 20 points. Shane Parker, 9 rebounds. Courtney Vandersloot, 5 assists. Those are the game leaders. Kaz, you have 60 seconds to talk about this game of basketball.
This is Phoenix being confusing again. So they win the game before quite, forcefully, and then they come out here and they've lost by this to Chicago. And Chicago are a good team, but we were just talking about the physicality before. So Phoenix should be absolutely dominant down in the post against them. They just don't seem together. Obviously, Chicago, when they're shooting, when their shots on, it's just great. And they came out after after Chicago's last loss. The team were talking about, James Wade was kind of quite vocal, saying the team, someone needs to step up when Vandersloot's out. They can't have Ruthie Hebard being the best post player when she's a rookie. No knock on Ruthie. And after, I think he fired up the team a bit. They came back, obviously wanted to beat Phoenix a second time, but Phoenix, they're 2 different teams. Which one are you going to get? You just don't know.
Greg.
Yeah, this was the bad side of the Jekyll and Hyde argument, but I think this is the game that kind of made me think there was a big psychological element to Griner's struggles with her health because, obviously Dawson didn't play that much. I think she might have just squeezed over 15 minutes. But with Griner being well aware that Dawson was in the roster for the game, she was active. She probably thought to herself, "Oh, I'm gonna have to really conserve my energy here. Dawson's gonna want to come in and bang. I'm not really up for that today." And you could see in the way she was carrying herself that she was kind of, she had something on her mind in terms of how she was going to approach that matchup when it came along. And the plus minus thing is I don't hold a lot of weight to that. She's minus 18. Phoenix lost by 18. She's in the game during all the key moments. That's all that means. If someone plays 40 minutes and you lose by 20, that's going to be your plus minus. That just means you were on the court the whole time. So that's not something I look at particularly. But the key thing for me here is that the depth is just not there for Phoenix when certain players drop off. They missed Taurasi in a big way. Any team would. But, even Bria Hartley coming back and she scored 13 points, but she needed 18 shots to do it. I like the aggression, but she just has to be a little bit more productive than that for my liking. But definitely Courtney Vandersloot again. She's stirring the drink for Chicago. Not a particularly big assist now. I think she had 5. Not bad.
5.
But it's the tempo. She keeps Chicago playing at the pace that they want to play at. And even when she doesn't get an assist, she's got an assist chance. So she's putting the ball into the hands of the best people to have it at that moment. I guess it's up to the other party to make the play count. But, I think, Phoenix need to really look at what's going on with their health. Maybe, I don't know what the practice situation is in the bubble, but they might need a day off at some point.
I mean, speaking to coaches, the practice situation is they don't get hardly any practice time at all. There's lots of watching film. There's looking at what they did the night before, look at what they can do the next night, and getting some shots up and rebounding. And I think that's pretty much it in terms of practice. But yeah, maybe, like you say, maybe even that is a little bit too much at times. Okay, we're going to take a moment to advertise, promote, that's the word, the charity of the Perfect Day Foundation. So Ashley Smith, who is one of our commentators here at FocusHoops.com, .co.uk rather? No, FocusHoops.com. Why am I struggling with this? Ashley Smith is the Miss Caribbean UK finalist, and she is raising money as part of her campaign for the Perfect Day Foundation charity. This initiative will support female netball players in Zambia and aims to address key challenges by teaching girls and young women new skills in order for them to help create sellable products made from African wax print material, as well as educate them in the process of running their own small business to help fund their school fees and provide family support amongst other necessities. There is a link in the description of this video on both YouTube and Facebook. So please, if you've got any spare money laying around, please think about donating to the Perfect Day Foundation charity. Again, I talk about it all the time. We're talking about women's basketball right now, women's sport. The emancipation of women is one of the most important human rights issues there is, and we should all be in full support of that. Ash is doing her bit and even a bit more, working with young girls in Zambia, trying to improve their life chances. And I fully support that, and I hope that everybody does as well. So check out the link in the description for more on Ash and her campaign to be Miss Caribbean UK, representing the beautiful Cayman Islands, as well as her work with the Perfect Day Foundation charity. Back to basketball. Unless anybody has anything they want to say about the Perfect Day Foundation charity.
I've seen in the past actually he's been to Zambia to help out with certain things there. Look, it's a very important project that you're doing out there, because I think everybody lives in a certain situation can understand the importance of being able to play sport, what that offers you health wise, the psychological benefits of being, amongst friends and stuff like that. So, it's the biggest barrier to participation in sport anywhere in the world is always cost and opportunity. So any way that we can help to facilitate this is going to be much appreciated, and you can take that from me. That's the part of the world where I'm from. I'm from Zimbabwe, which is just south of Zambia. I know how things are down there, and it's tough. It's tough, but they get along. So any help that can be given is appreciated. But one thing, Daz, did you say female netball players in your soliloquy?
Very possibly, yeah.
That's kind of obvious, right?
No, not necessarily, okay? Because Kirsty Fowkes, her brother, whose name I forget, but he was in a Nintendo commercial back when we were in primary school, he played on the netball team because there wasn't a basketball team. So, in your face? Kirsty Fowkes Jones, my apologies, I got your name wrong. Spelt with 2 F's.
Fair enough.
There you go, see? You didn't think I'd bring that Pendorlin knowledge where I was for one single term. I then moved to Llandrillo and Rose. If you know it, you know it. Represent. All right.
Lord, say that again.
Llandrillo and Rose.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nice. I'll type it out to you later. Nice school, nice part of the world. Got this tiny church called St. Tudno Church. It's smaller than this room. It's great. It's cool. Check it out. North Welsh Coast. Look, hey, Cymru basketball or Fel Basket Cymru. If you're watching this and you want some ad space, we can do that. Let's work together. I'll hype up Wales. We'll have like things. We'll have like a jersey, a Dan Pilkington jersey. It makes sense. All right. The rookies, they have been taking a battering. These 3 individuals, they are our Rookie of the Year candidates right now. We've got Sabrina Ionescu out for a month. We've got Kennedy Carter out for 2 weeks, both with an ankle. And Satu Sabali, she was questionable for Wednesday night's clash for Dallas against Connecticut. She did ultimately play in that game. I thought she was pretty handy, though she has changed her hair, which made it... I do find that male basketball players don't change their hair too much. Once you know what somebody looks like, you know what they look like. The women's players, especially in WNBA, it's what?
Have you forgotten Dennis Rodman?
Oh yeah, fair. No, that's fair. That's fair. That's one. That's one guy. That's what individual.
Jermaine O'Neal new every night. He was weird.
Joe Green. He changed it up a bit.
Yeah.
Change it up a bit. It's that guy. Anyway, to the important matters. What on earth is happening to our rookies? Going down injured.
It's a different game. College basketball. It's different in women's college basketball because you get more veteran players because they tend to see out their eligibility, play off 4 years. But in general, you spend most of your time playing against teenagers when you're in college. There's only so much that they know what to do with their bodies, the physicality. You're dealing with grown women here, people that are feeding families, people that have gone to Eastern Europe, to ply their trade. They're bringing that back, so you've got to deal with that. And maybe the one factor that they're not dealing with is the commercial travel that they have to deal with in WNBA that maybe you don't in the NBA. But even though that's not a factor, there's no back-to-backs, but there's still a quick turnaround with these games. I think you're playing every other night, really. So you're probably not used to that from your college days. So it's going to catch up with them in their bodies. They're not quite used to it. Apart from maybe Ionescu's pretty horrific ankle turn, it's been soft tissue injuries in general. So the soft tissue injuries are what you tend to get when, the intensity kind of spikes in this way.
Again, speaking to rookies in various teams, the thing that they were saying all through camp was the physicality. They're just getting used to that. That, like you've said, it's a more physical game for them. We've had a comment through on YouTube. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook and we say something and you're like, nah, I've got something to say, then say it, please. We want to hear it. We're going to get it up on the screen. There was this guy last week, I forget his name, but he kept on coming in with the coldest takes imaginable, talking some mess about the Phoenix. Anyway, Justine, this is on our hair conversation. Justine, I hope I've said your name correctly, says Kyle Kuzma changes hair every day, which, yeah, again, fair enough. I'm being proved wrong, and I love to see it. This is why I don't talk about the aesthetics of sport, because people are just going to come at me immediately being like, you're wrong. Kaz, we are talking about rookies getting hurt. How is this going to impact your case for Kennedy Carter for Rookie of the Year? Kaz Bullock. We really want Kaz for her rookie corner. Is it going to happen? We're going to give it a few more secs.
No, it will not. And let me tell you why. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. Go.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so this injury is not going to impact Kennedy Carter's Rookie of the Year campaign. Let me tell you why. Right. She's played. So they've said she's going to be out for 2 weeks at most. Atlanta Dream PR said she couldn't come back earlier if the doctor signed her off. And Carter was interviewed yesterday as well. And she seemed to be saying, yeah, they've said 2 weeks, but I can come back earlier if I want to. She wants to come back earlier. Obviously, we don't want it to be anything serious and make it worse if she comes back earlier. But so if we go for the 7 games that she's played, so she was injured in the 8th game. So she misses 2 weeks, that's 6 games at most. So then she comes back and plays another 8 games. So she's played 15, 16, depending on how you count it. So she's going to miss 6 games. She's still making an impact in those 16 games to be in with the Rookie of the Year. She's averaging 19.4 points per game, 4.2 assists, 2.7 rebounds, a steal, shooting 88% from the 3-throw line, 45% from the field, 42% from 3. She's the leading rookie scorer if we take out Sabrina. She's second in assists and second in efficiency behind Julie Ullman, and she's actually 25th in the league in efficiency out of everyone. This isn't impacting her. She is the Rookie of the Year. They may not be going to the playoffs now because of this 6-game stretch, but she's the Rookie of the Year. And I will die on this hill.
Not to be unkind, but so will your internet, I think. I think that's what's going on. You're channeling your Kennedy Carter agenda into your internet. Your internet service provider disagrees. And you, Kaz Bullock, you disagree as well. We have a comment, though. What do you guys think about players being so injury prone nowadays? Is it just me, or is it getting worse? Well, I want to come at this first, Justine, if that's all right, guys. It's because these athletes are the fittest they've ever been. Not just these individuals, but all athletes are the fittest they've ever been. They're freaks, okay? And I mean that with love and respect, okay? Absolute freaks. They're more energy. There's more power going into everything they do. They tend to be bigger and stronger. And sometimes when you're that peak fitness with all the strength and power and energy, this hard floor, this very fast amount of games, you're going to break down more often. I just think that's where we're at. Plus, with these college players, the college schedule is not the toughest in terms of the amount of basketball you're playing competitively. Tell me if I'm wrong. And they're going from that to an enormous step up in the WNBA, especially with this every other day schedule, with very little rest time on a very shiny and hard floor. And again, that's something that I've been told quite a number of times. So for me, that's where I'm coming. That's where I'm seeing it as. So maybe they are more. Maybe teams have better health staff. We know that they've got better strength and conditioning staff, etc., and so on. So they are, more alert, more alive to these issues. Greg, what do you think?
I think you're pretty much on the money. Another factor to that is, the culture around health reporting is a lot better than it was back in the day. You know, it was strap it up and get on with it. You're not hurt, just go and play. That's changed. That culture's changed, thank God. Um, but yeah, I think the thing is, if we're always trying to push and find the limits of human athletic performance, what happens when you get close to that limit? What happens when you do find that limit? And for each individual athlete, it's different. But in general, we are really getting to the edge of human athletic potential now. I don't know that there's much more to come. Um, Obviously, like I said, for WNBA players, they're probably closer to what you would be their grown woman body when they come out of college, but you've not used it yet, not to this extent. And you have to think about the extra pressures that are on their body because they go from a full WNBA season normally to a full EuroLeague season straight back to the
Yeah.
WNBA. They're very often playing 10-month seasons during the year. So that's a
Plus
lot
their
of miles.
national teams,
Yeah, national teams when that comes around. So, there's a lot to it, and in general, there's huge demand on the athletes' bodies these days. It's a case of just finding that sweet spot where you're doing not too much to be doing extra damage to your body when you need rest, but you're also still staying active, staying keyed into your periodization as they give it to you. So I don't know. It's just we are probably getting to the edge of what we're capable of as humans at this point.
Kaz, are we going to see the 100-meter record getting broken anymore? That's basically what I'm taking from Greg right there.
So I've got an issue with that, is because we've seen the men's 100 in my lifetime. I think it's 5 times the men's 100-meter world record has been broken by a significant margin. I've not seen during my lifetime the women's 100-meter world record get broken. What's going on behind that? I don't know.
I don't know. That's a really interesting question that I think we need to put to Mike Whitaker, who was last spotted working with West Indies.
Yes.
We are going to see it. Okay. All right. Kaz, forthright, confident, and we love that. We respect that. By the way, again, thank you so much for your comments. Keep them coming in, and we will get to them as much as we can. So Kaz is so confident Candy Carter is going to win Rookie of the Year. I personally,
the women's one.
I'm not too sure. I personally,
it's Florence Griffith Joyner. I can't remember the time specifically, but it's Florence Griffith Joyner, and to my knowledge, I don't think anyone's actually come close. So I mean, there may be questions to be asked there about was it clean? Because you have to think, like you said, athletes are getting bigger, stronger, faster all the time. But is that the one sport where they're not? I don't think so. So there are questions that need to be asked there.
All right. I personally think that it's still going to be Satu Sabali, but Crystal Dangerfield disagrees. The 5'5" guard from UConn, 3 times in the Final Four, lost at least twice to Notre Dame. Obviously, this season's final didn't happen, but I think this season was going to be won by Oregon. Anyway, 16th overall.
Oh, no, South Carolina, baby.
Yeah, like I said, Oregon. Second round 2020 draft pick by the Lynx. And look at the resume she's putting together. Kaz has just thrown us a load of numbers, but 12.5 points a game, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 43% field goal, 33 from 3, 90% free throws, and she's averaging about 2-3 free throws a game, an efficiency of 10.4. Not too shabby. Crystal Dangerfield for Rookie of the Year. What are we thinking about that? Also, get your comments in Facebook, YouTube. Let us know what you think. Crystal Dangerfield, an outside look for the Roy. Kaz? I think we're going to need to go to Greg. right now.
What I like about Crystal Dangerfield is
No, we're
so
not.
she was she the 16th pick in the second round.
Go ahead.
So she was second round pick from Minnesota. And she dropped, and I know there was a lot of talk before the draft about her height. She's 5'5". Would she be able to compete with, the height and the physicality of the league? The only other player her height is Alani Mitchell playing for Washington. And I think she's just shown this week that she absolutely can. There was the game against LA where she had 29 points. She had this amazing fake that she was going to pass the ball. Candace Parker had just turned all the way around to have a look, and she just drove to the basket. It was a great play. But she's been really good for this Minnesota team, and being given the minutes and given the chances that she is. I think she'll be up there with Rookie of the Year. She's very impressive. But she doesn't have as much weight on her shoulders as maybe some of the others do. But I'm really impressed with how she's playing. I really like it. I also really like it when players that are like my height do really well. Makes me think like you don't need to be super tall.
Greg, Dangerfield, Rookie of the Year.
I don't think she'll be in the Rookie of the Year running. She's definitely outplaying her draft position, which is always a good thing for the team that selected her. But a couple of factors into where she was drafted is that which is rare for UConn. They didn't have any standout players in that team that year, so she's probably a victim of perception in that way. So just because she didn't stand head and shoulders above everyone else in college basketball, like a lot of UConn players can tend to do, look out for Paige Beckers when she comes out. She was kind of a victim of that situation. But what you also have is that you have other players in other situations actually leading their teams. They're at the forefront, like the Kennedy Carter situation. She's at the front of what Atlanta are doing. Satu Sabally is on your scouting report every day for what Dallas are doing. So those types of, obviously, the injured Sabrina Ionescu would be the same situation. So I guess she's not got the heavy lifting load, as Kaz mentioned, that the other players do. She's probably in a perfect situation for her to grow. So for her, the Rookie of the Year situation is it's not a big deal. She's looking at a long, fruitful career, I think, and that's kind of the more important thing for me right now.
Okay, unfortunately, we've lost Kaz, the internet up in Manchester, getting too much. Though, according to my phone, we do have thunder in the area around here, so we're going to blame that. Next topic of conversation, are the Washington Mystics in crisis? Last year's champs, 0-5 in their last 5. They've lost to the Aces, Lynx, Sky, Fever, and of course, the New York Liberty. Am I being overdramatic, or is this a real problem right now?
I think you have to look at the kind of murderer's row that they've just played, apart from maybe the Liberty. That was a bad situation for them to lose that game. But like I said earlier, if there was a game that Liberty were going to win, it was a game that was played in that fashion. But we've seen what Chicago were able to do scoring the ball. We did say that in the season preview that Washington's struggle was going to be stopping teams from scoring. The one thing that Chicago do is score the ball. So if you're not going tit for tat with them, you're going to be in for a long night. Las Vegas Aces, probably the most stacked team in the whole league, other than Seattle. Indiana on their night, one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the league. So it's bad to be hitting that kind of skid. You probably want to go 2 of 3 where you can. Maybe pick off Liberty, maybe pick off Indiana. But the other 3 games, I'm not so sure what they could have really done to be able to win those games. So a couple of bad results here and there, but I don't think it's a crisis situation.
Not a crisis. I tell you who's not in crisis. It's Seattle. How on earth are teams meant to cope with the Seattle Storm? And again, Greg, you're a coach. You've come up against some pretty tricky teams in your time, and especially this season. How is the rest of the league supposed to contain all of this talent?
A lot of the time, you can get caught up in thinking about how do I stop another team? How do I prevent, damage limit? How do I cause damage limitation for us? I think you have to go at them. You have to attack Seattle. You have to go at them. And I think for me, if I was to pick a weak spot, I'd go for Alyssa Clark. I'd go for Alicia Clark because I think for me, she's amongst the starters. She's the weak link. She's not particularly keen on playing defense at the best of times. And at the minute, she's not as aggressive as she should be offensively. So if I was to go after somebody, I'd pick on her. And you also want to make someone like Stewie play as much defense as you can make her play, possibly get her into a foul trouble situation, possibly get a little bit worn out. So you can't be passive when you're playing a team like Seattle. You have to go after them.
Now, we've spoken about them about 27 times tonight, but very quickly, Mercury is not rising, Greg. Mercury is falling. The temperature is plummeting. And Diana Taurasi is sidelined. There is no timetable on Taurasi right now. She's out with a hip injury. It was looking like it was back, but the team have determined that it is more hip. Hopefully, nothing too serious, because you don't want to see one of the greatest players in the history of our sport, out with injury. But just, do you want to just summarize your overall thoughts on Phoenix? And also, people watching this, Facebook, YouTube, what do you think about Phoenix? What did you expect from them this year? And what do you expect to see later on in this season? Again, comments down below.
For those of you who watched the pre-season preview episode, you'll see the callback that Darren made there. So I picked up on that one. I think Mercury are in a situation where I think a couple years ago, LeBron James said of his Cavaliers team were top heavy as you know what. That's kind of the case for Phoenix. They're a very top heavy team that's not quite right. Obviously, you see Taurasi's got her health struggles. Griner's got her health struggles. The one player that's really healthy right now is the player that hasn't played for a while, is Skylar Diggins-Smith. Bria Hartley here and there has been stepping up, but she's missed some games as well. So, the lack of depth is really costing Phoenix a lot right now, and it's not a unique situation in the bubble, to be honest. I think teams have had to get into hardship waivers so far. Las Vegas started the training camp period in the bubble with not enough players to have a 5-on-5 scrimmage. So it's not a woe is me type of appeal for Phoenix Mercury, but it's just the reality. And I think were they to get right, there'll be a team to reckon with from the playoffs, and so it's just a question of how important is seeding in a situation where there's no travel. They can probably sacrifice a game here and there for the sake of rests without having to worry about having to jump on a plane to travel cross country for the sake of seeding.
It's interesting you say about seeding. Let's move on to the home court. There was a big article today by, I think it might have been ESPN. Home court advantage is a thing in the bubble. It's kind of ridiculous because it's a Central Arena League, but the home team is 34-17. Now, I know that I don't know if you have, actually looked through who's played at home versus away so far and, balance a schedule or whatever. But home advantage is real in the bubble. They've got a DJ playing the home tunes, I guess. I don't know. To me, that's kind of wild. I don't know what you think, Greg.
If you look at the teams that have bucked the home away trend, really are your league leaders. If you're looking at it that way, Las Vegas beating Indiana as the road team, I think it's just a quirk of the draw, really. You get Connecticut beating Atlanta as a road team, Phoenix beating Dallas as a road team, nominal road team, by the way, because again, like you said, it's a central venue situation. Chicago beating Connecticut as a road team. So I don't think there's a lot to look into for that. It's just a quirk of the draw. As you start to flip the schedule, now I think we're at the point now where the schedule is flipping. you're going to see that kind of correct itself and regress back to the mean. It's not an incredible advantage for the home team. That's 67% winning percentage for the home team. Um, Whereas in normal years, you're edging up more towards your 75% for the home teams. You know, the state of travel in the WNBA is a huge equalizer. So it's not as pronounced as it would be in a normal situation, but it's just a quirk of the schedule, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. WNBA announced their players of the week for last week, and they were Courtney Vandersloot in the East, Asia Wilson in the West. Personally, I don't know how anybody could argue, even consider arguing against these two as the key performers last week. Greg, any argument from yourself?
Not an argument, but I do want to give an honorable mention again to Kennedy Carl because she was a standout player in the East. So just to acknowledge her efforts there. But I do remember last week I jumped in on the comment saying that it's either between BG or Asia Wilson in the West and Asia. When I was putting my feet to the fire by Ish, I had to say Asia. But look, the thing is, it's hard to pick in some of these standout performances, who is it that you're going to single out? But when you're looking at what is currently the team steamrolling in terms of point differential, it's the Las Vegas Aces, and who's the engine? It's Asia Wilson. So it makes sense. And same situation, you're looking at a high-scoring Chicago team. Who's key to that is Courtney Vandersloot. So I guess it's recognition for the individuals down to what the teams are doing and their role within that, but definitely no complaints from me.
Yeah, so I think Asia Wilson is the points per game league leader. Courtney Vandersloot, definitely assist leader. What's she averaging? 8.4 assists. And let me just quickly check points. It is Asia Wilson averaging 21 points with an efficiency of 21.9. So Asia Wilson leading the way from Arike Agumbawale, who is the absolute beating heart of the Dallas Wings. It's probably a good thing that Michael Hanson-Morris isn't with us today because he'd be off on a rant right now. What else we got?
Arike is a big time player. She has been since she came into the league. Rookie of the year, I think. Was she rookie of the year?
She was not rookie of the year. I think she should have been, but that's just me.
Yeah, she's been a big time player. You go back to her college career and you see that she's a player for the big moment. She's a player for the big occasion. Nothing phases her, and in that way she's gotten. This is nothing new for her. I think she came out at the right time as well to be able to be leading a team where Dallas did need cover at that position. Is exactly when Skylar Diggins-Smith was stepping back from playing. So she's definitely a beneficiary of circumstance in that way, but she's very much deserving of her accolades.
Yeah, and now she's playing in her more favored role, so hopefully we're gonna see her gain future MVP. I'm saying it. You think I'm wrong, but I don't care. Just looking at the standings, and we've had a little bit of a run from the Connecticut Sun. They are now 3-6. They are 3-1 in their last 4 after starting the season 0-5. They've beaten Atlanta and Dallas twice in the last 4 games. They lost to Chicago 193 on Saturday. So this is your top 8 right now. Seattle, Las Vegas, Minnesota, Chicago, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Washington, and Indiana. Connecticut, Dallas, Atlanta, New York missing out. I think, and tell me if you think I'm being wild over here, I think we might be able to just draw a line through Atlanta and New York in playoff contention. What do you think?
I'm not so sure. I think, as I mentioned earlier, there's been the situations where Atlanta, they're hanging in a game against one of the more powerful teams in the league, could have stolen a result. Same with Liberty, they could have stolen a result against Seattle.
And New York.
A bounce there. If you look at that AC, there's a lot of teams gathered on 3 wins. So a lucky bounce there, here and there, you can get, a team backdooring into the eighth seed of the playoffs. And remember, there's no conference separation. It's 1 through 8, whatever your record is. So at the moment, you've got, I think is it Indiana in that 8th slot?
Yeah. It is indeed. Yep.
So 3 and 5 team. Atlanta's only 1 win back from that. They can steal a game from Indiana. They can steal a game from Connecticut. They can steal a game from Dallas. You'd expect them to beat New York. So, there's definitely a chance for them to kind of backdoor into the playoffs if some teams are not getting the results that they need to be getting.
And of course, like Washington, they've just gone an 0-5 skid. So interesting to see how they rebound from that and see if they can firm up their playoff spot. They are the 7th seed right now. And it feels ridiculous. I completely get it. It feels ridiculous to be talking about, can we think about taking a team out of playoff contention? But this time next week, we will be scratching a team out. At least one team, I reckon, from playoff contention, because we're just shy of the halfway point of the season. Because it's coming thick and fast. Could you imagine if the NBL and the WNBL ran on this schedule? It'd be chaos. It'd be carnage.
You know what? I do like the rapid fire nature of the bubble at the minute. I guess there's a little bit of luck when it comes to health and stuff like that when in this situation, but other than some extreme situations, that just comes down to preparation, I guess. Ionescu's ankle turn, you can't legislate for that. That's just super unlucky. But other than that, I don't think anybody's been particularly screwed by the schedule. There's no back-to-backs. There's no travel. We're all in the same boat here. So the rapid-fire nature of the schedule is fun for the viewers as well, because you're turning around every night and there's a game. Whereas in a normal situation, you're waiting 4 to 5 nights between games in the WNBA, and I think I'm feeling a little bit spoiled right now. How quickly the games are coming at me. I've got basketball every night in the middle of summer. Think about that one. So I'm pretty happy with how it's going.
It's great. It's like a FIBA international year, but it's WNBA. Oh. And here we were a couple months ago, and I was just watching back the FIBA America Cup Women 2017. It's a great tournament, though. Great tournament. All right. Now, you're saying to yourself, well, I've not seen much WNBA action yet. I'm still watching your show, and we appreciate it. How can I watch more games? Well, Twitter are live streaming 12 WNBA games. I believe it is on their Periscope platform, but also on the Twitter app and website itself. The first game was last night. It was the Atlanta Dream and the Seattle Storm. We've got Connecticut versus Chicago on Friday. Next Wednesday, Phoenix, Los Angeles. Then next Friday, LA, Atlanta, Minnesota. Lots of Atlanta games on here. We've got Sunday 23rd and Sunday 30th, Atlanta, Minnesota, and then Connecticut, Washington. We got some nice games on Twitter. What do we make of this initiative by the WNBA?
Look, anytime you can get free sport, that's just opening the door for you to engage a little bit more with the products. NFL do it on Thursday night games sometimes. I've seen some MLB games on Twitter Sports sometimes, and this isn't the first time that Twitter Sports are doing this in the WNBA.
Sky have the Saturday night basketball live free on YouTube, and occasionally a Sunday as well.
Yeah, so oftentimes for a lot of people, their first introduction into some of these leagues and sports is through some kind of free to broadcast situation, or if you're not able to go to a live game in the arena or stadium. So this is, it's only smart to be able to do this and open the sport up to a lot more people that wouldn't come across it. There's so many times you find yourself late at night scrolling on your phone, going through your timeline, not really looking for anything in particular, just seeing what you can find. And then you go, well, it's free. Why wouldn't I click on it? So that situation can happen. I'm a league pass watcher in the WNBA. I have been for 3 seasons now. Kind of given up my NBA league pass because I do prefer to watch the Euro League, but that's a different situation.
It's the right situation, is what it is.
Definitely, but yeah, I think it's very smart business by the WNBA, and there's a lot worse you can be doing than watching a free WNBA game, and trust me, you'll enjoy it a lot more than you expect to.
Oh, women. I mean, basketball played by women. We're going to say women's basketball probably. For me, it's the best basketball. It's just like the purest. It tends to be more technically interesting to watch. People moan. There's a lot of people moaning, and if you don't like it, go and watch a different brand of basketball. But it's like the NBA, it's all dunks and 3-pointers. That's it. That's all they care about. Well, no, but okay, sure. Go watch women's basketball. Go watch the WNBA. Go and watch Racing Club Derby Schneider. Go and find what you like. There's lots out there, and it's free on Twitter. 12 games so far this season. They may add to that as they go along. The last little news item that I have tonight, before we get to a comment that's just popped up in the chat, is the Dallas Wings launched the hashtag I Am campaign. This is something that they've been really proud of. The campaign centers around Wings forward Isabel Harrison's hashtag I Am platform, which she created earlier this year. She started the campaign after seeing social injustices and atrocities in our country. Harrison said, the purpose is to show all that their struggles are seen and show how alike we really are. I also wanted to make something that we could all come together on. So check that out on Twitter, hashtag I Am campaign. That is by Wings forward Isabel Harrison. Caroline Bullock on Facebook says, do you guys think having both NBA and WNBA seasons at the same time has helped with exposure? Well, Kaz, as you like to be known, I think so. I think a hard maybe on that one. In that, yeah, you're going to have a lot of eyes looking at basketball right now. And maybe somebody's looking for an NBA game. Maybe they stumble on a WNBA game. There's just basketball central right now. I think yes. That's a terrible answer from me, and I apologize to everybody involved. But I say yes. Greg?
I think it definitely has helped with exposure. So think about this situation that you normally get is even with the support from NBA players, which in recent years has been a lot better for the WNBA. You look at the Washington example with the Bradley Beals and John Walls of this world being fixtures.
And the Mo Wagners and the recently headbutted Mo Wagner. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting situation that happened. But yeah, as much as they speak out and they support the league, there was a little bit of silly content that you had last season with Brittany Griner challenging DeMarcus Cousins to a 1-on-1, and they were talking about that kind of stuff. By the time the WNBA season comes around, your average basketball or NBA fan is a little bit fatigued. The NBA schedule is hellish. The end if you're a regular NBA watcher, by the end of that season, you've watched almost 120 games. For a hardcore NBA watcher, and even the casual ones, you'll have watched your fair share of high-profile games in that situation. So by the time the WNBA season rolls around, you're probably thinking, oh, man, I've had enough. It's probably time for baseball. Let me watch a little bit of that. You're not in a basketball frame of mind at that stage of the season. But because of the happy circumstance, sorry, it's really not. But because of the way things have panned out, to have things in the situation where we are now with the bubbles and the delayed schedules, you're looking for basketball. You look for the NBA, you that's what you watch. You're seeing these guys, they're rolling up to games in their orange hoodies, their t-shirts, they're posting and hashtagging about the WNBA. So it's not a case of, oh yeah, I get it. You dismiss it. It's going to be 2, 3, 4 months down the line. It's here right now at the same time as the NBA. You might click over or just switch windows on your laptop to different streams and find the WNBA game, the Twitter Sports example that we just spoke of, and see a WNBA game. And I do find a lot of the times the people that criticize the WNBA or women's basketball in general, I go back to a conversation that I had with someone that I actually invited to go and watch a Manchester Mystics game with me. They'd never seen women's basketball before, but always criticized it. And then they finally went and watched the game, and they were one of the loudest people cheering in there with me. At the end, it's still basketball. If you know basketball, if you appreciate basketball, you will enjoy it. Trust me, because I see some boneheaded plays being made in the NBA, but they get away with it because of athleticism and stuff like that. But if you're looking for players to actually go out and play basketball the way you were probably taught to play yourself, this is where it is.
I've covered a fair bunch of BBL finals, cup finals, playoff finals, National League finals as well. The women's games have tended, for the most part, to be the best games. And that's as simple as that.
Example of the last 2 years, the BBL, WBBL trophy finals. Maybe not the latest one we're standing with Newcastle and Solent with the overtime situation, but
that was pretty wild.
You had cardiac Helen Naylor last year with the shot of all shots. This year you had the Leicester Riders getting everything they could handle in their final. These are the most intense games. I go back to the first WBBL Cup final, Nottingham Wildcats and Manchester Mystics. That was a wire-to-wire game. And, they're very highly competitive games. And when you're dealing with people at the top of their profession, it doesn't matter what sport it is, who's playing it. You're dealing with experts here.
Yeah. That's it. That's all that needs to be said. These guys are literally the best in the world at what they do. And if you can't find joy in that, then, bro, there's no helping. There's no helping you if you can't find joy in literally the best people in the world.
Something I was told a while ago, and ever since I heard it, it's just rang to be true every time I've thought about it, is, you look at people that you think it looks ordinary because of who they're doing it with, professional sport athletes. Think about this. Your average professional athlete, whatever sport you want, average full-time professional, they're better at what they do than the best of anybody else at what they do. Just by the nature of how it has to be. Because if you look at the WNBA, you're talking about only the 144 best. NBA, only the 450 best. How many basketball players are in this world? And that's the sample you're getting in those leagues. So think about what you're looking at.
And it's that simple. It's that simple. All right. I think we're probably preaching to the already converted on this one. And we are going to leave it there. This has been a very long FocusHoops WNBA show. Apologies there, but, that's what's going to happen. We're passionate about our sport, and we're going to talk about it for literal days. Greg, anything more from you, my friend?
No, it's been a good show. I've enjoyed it. I'm just looking forward to tonight's game. I think we've got some very, very interesting contests coming up, and these are going to go a long way towards informing the standings going forward. If Indiana dropped this result against New York, you're looking at a different playoff situation for that 8th seed. Can Washington bounce back from their slump against LA Sparks, who they've not necessarily lit the world on fire, but, they still look a little bit strong. And now you've got two teams that are really killing it, Minnesota and Aces against each other. Who's going to come out on top there?
That 2 a.m. tip-off in that one is not bringing me joy. I'd really hope that was the early game, but never mind. It's not 10 p.m., so we can't complain too much. Right, I'm off for a nap before we check out these games tonight. I'm super excited for all of them. Greg, thank you so much for joining us. Kaz, I know you're currently watching. Thank you so much for joining us. Really, really, I'm again, in the UK, if you don't know, it's hot as heck, hence the jerseys. And we've got loads of potential energy in the sky causing really sweet thunderstorms. So that is what I'm blaming. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you tonight. We will talk to you